I said I was going to come back if I had something to say, and I have some things to say. Should I maybe do this? Should I not? And I thought, just sit on it and collect your thoughts on it. I thought I'd talk more about why I left spirituality and how my spirituality has changed basically based on what I was consuming and the reason why of that. So basically, like most people, I followed Aubrey for a while and I had no issues with Aubrey. I found his podcast really interesting and I obviously had no prior knowledge of that world. And I think, like most people, it's like all roads lead to Aubrey. You'll watch one content creator, they'll do an interview with Aubrey and they all kind of appear on each other's podcasts, and it's basically a marketing strategy. That's great, get your coin, etc. So I used to watch Aubrey and I found his podcast quite interesting. And then, like most people, I watched the podcast, in inverted commas, the Radical Monogamy podcast. And like most people, just felt, what the fuck is this? Like, literally, this makes no sense. It isn't monogamy. What are you doing, Aubrey? Why are you putting your life online like that? And as someone that's done that myself, I try not to judge, but I ultimately think he's in a different position than me. I am in a position where this is like 8 Mile. This is my last shot. My situation is completely different to Aubrey. This is pretty much my last shot. If this doesn't work, then my trajectory is just being a normal person. So I watched that podcast and I think, like most people, this isn't hating on Aubrey. I've literally followed Aubrey for a while, and when he met Alana, I was really happy for him. And if you've watched my other content, he's not my crush. My crush was someone different. So it's not just me making like a burn video about Aubrey. I was really happy for Aubrey. I felt he'd met his match. I felt we'd met his match in Vailana. I felt that they were both strong individuals and together they could create something great. And that's what they were doing. And then, like most people in the spiritual community, we were shocked at this because we were sold the lie that Aubrey had given up his polyamory days, that those days were way behind him and he was now on this path of monogamy with Vi. And to see all of that happen, it was just such a shock. And I think it's definitely, as an older woman, it is incredibly triggering when you see a man date someone so much younger than himself. It just kicks up the wound that women are always told that your whole worth lies in your youth, that it lies in your beauty, and that after a certain point, you're useless. You're not worth anything anymore. And this is sadly what I imagine Vailana's going through, and that must be so tough for Vailana to see all this play out. At the end of the day, Vailana's made her choice. She's made her choice to stay with Aubrey. I mean, I understand her choice. Her choice is she puts up with whatever Aubrey does, whatever Aubrey wants to do sexually. She puts up with it because he supports her. He lets her do her sound healing. He lets her do her music pretty much undisturbed, and he pays for it. And she, you know, they've always said it's Vailana's choice, she can leave me, etc. But Vailana might leave with Aubrey's money, but she will also leave the network. She'll leave her friendship group because they'll all side with Aubrey. Because Aubrey is like the Weinstein of the spirituality movement. All roads lead to Aubrey. And if you're not with Aubrey anymore, well, people side with Aubrey. They're not going to side with Vailana. So she knows that that's where her bread's buttered. And she knows that if she's even said it on a podcast. I mean, I watched all 3 of the podcasts. Is there 3? I don't know. I didn't watch the one in the middle where he was talking to a therapist because I found that a bit boring. But I watched the one with him and Alana, and I watched the one with them and Josh. And oh my God, the one with him and Josh was just, it was literally the most self-indulgent, boring podcast I've ever had the mispleasure to watch. It was so boring and I couldn't get through it, and I had to I had to watch it for kind of research purposes, but it was just so boring. And I can say that because I've put a video up of me crying for 20 minutes about being single. I have put some shit content up in my time, but this was just self-indulgent. It was boring. And I'm really finding at the moment that his podcasts are just going off on one. And I don't get what I used to get. I used to get really deep, in-depth discussions about spiritual issues, and I don't get that now. I just get the drama, and it's just the drama of all the shenanigans that we know would not be happening if Aubrey was a brokey. If Aubrey was a broke man, none of this shenanigans would be happening. This is only happening because Aubrey is a rich man, and you can't dispute that. That's facts. But at the end of the day, they are entitled to do what they want to do. Vailana's an adult. She can do what she wants to do. Alana's an adult. But it's slightly different because what Aubrey offers these people is a lifestyle that they will not have without him. They will not have the trips abroad. They will not be open to such experiences. And the thing is, I realised while watching other people's responses to this that I had been brainwashed. About a year ago, I was so desperate to join this movement. I would have done anything to be one of the creators, going to Egypt. I would have done anything to be in that position, being around all those people. But it was only since watching other creators that the penny dropped for me, that I was being brainwashed by these people. I don't usually call out other creators because they never call me out back. But I really like this creator called The Sean Patrick Show. And I think he's insanely funny. He makes AI songs, etc. And he's really fantastic at what he does, basically. And he is a reformed drug addict, and he helps people get off drugs. And he made me see the reality of these people that I was idolizing, these people that I was looking up to, that I wanted so desperately to be part of the network. And he calls them druggy swingers. And that is what they are. These people take recreational drug use consistently, and they use it as a guise for getting closer to God, for spirituality. And I saw these people for what they are. They are literally 40-year-olds running around taking drugs. And why would I want to watch that content? Why would I take anything seriously from these people that are literally just drug users? They always use ways to play down what they're doing. They say that it's natural. They say it's just mushrooms. They say that it's all natural from the ground. But these people are taking substances that alter their minds, and they alter their way of thinking. I don't think it's in a good way. I think it's in a really bad way. And I've always found it really uncomfortable the way that Aubrey is flippant about drug use. He's just, literally every story that he says starts with, I was high, this time that I was high, this time I was in a medicine ceremony. He doesn't have any anecdotes that do not revolve around being high or being in some kind of sexual, what I say eros because I'm from the UK, but they say eros. None of his stories revolve around normal things that a human would do. I've never heard him say an anecdote that's such as, I went for a meal with this friend. It's always this massive trip that he's done. There's always this tab of acid that he's dropped. It's always something like this. And I think my take on Aubrey is that I think he's just constantly looking for something outside himself. He's constantly looking for a woman to fulfill that inner pain that we all feel. We all feel that inner pain at some time in our lives. And I feel that he's just constantly reaching outside himself for things to be okay. And I don't know if I'll cut this out because it is a wild projection on my part, but I've always had a bisexual vibe about Aubrey. I've always felt that he's hiding this bisexual vibe. And it's almost as if he has to have multiple women to disguise the fact that there's that bisexual urge there that he can't tap into. Because it's sadly the way society works. We allow women to be bisexual. Like even Vailana said on the podcast, I'm bi, and no one cared, no one gave a shit. But if Aubrey came out and said, hi, I'm bisexual, there would be another 10,000 videos about it. Because we don't let men be bisexual in society. We only let women be bisexual. That's another topic for another video. I was always, dare I say, jealous of these people. I was so jealous of these people. Their massive friendship group, and I've talked about in my other video how my community just isn't there at the moment. So I would look to people as role models. I would look to the spiritual community as role models. And I had to realise that I was chasing something I didn't want. I don't want to take drugs. I don't want to take drugs just to be cool. I am literally the most straight edge person you will ever meet. I've been drunk once in my life, and I can remember going up some stairs and my head was all fuzzy and I was like, oh, I don't like this feeling. This isn't for me. I've literally been once drunk in my life, never done any drugs, never even done a cigarette. I'm literally the most straight edge person. And just going into this world, I wouldn't fit in. I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to do orgies. I don't want to do sex ceremonies. I'm just literally looking for people to go out for dinner with, go for a walk with. I don't want to constantly get high. I mean, when I heard the story on the podcast, it just, oh my God, it just went on and on. Like, I think Aubrey surrounds himself with yes people. They don't push back on it. They don't say to him, hey, look, this radical monogamy thing that you're doing is absolute bullshit. He doesn't have people around him to tell him that. He's even said on his podcast that he's paid for his friends' houses. So they're not going to call him up on his bullshit because he's paid for their house. It's like me going into a work appraisal and my boss is like, hey, how is everything? And I'm going to be like, yeah, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is what the company should do different. Well, no, you just sit there and you take it and you say everything's wonderful. It's like that with Aubrey. He surrounds himself with yes people. Even his team producing that podcast should have said, this improv podcast is a load of shit. This needs to be shelved. There's times I film something and I'm self-aware to pull back and think, this is shit. I'm not posting this. But he doesn't have people like that around him. He just has yes people. And they're not going to call him up on this radical monogamy bullshit, which is just polyamory. It's polyamory at the end of the day. You don't need me to tell you that. There's hundreds of thousands of creators that have done a response the same. This is polyamory. And that's fine. If you want to live your life like that, that's absolutely fine. Literally no one cares. Did you need to do 4 podcasts on it? No. But you like the attention. And I don't blame you. When you get a video that does well, your dopamine sensors are like, ping, 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 ping. Oh my God, my video is doing really well. I don't blame you. He just milked that dry. He just milked that whole scenario dry. And at the end of the day, I don't know why. Aubrey, you have money. Why are you putting your life like that online? Everyone else that puts their life online like that, like me, does that to make money. We do that to make money. You have that. Why are you doing this? Why are you putting your life online in that way? The lifestyle you lead will only be led by a small percentage of men, like a really tiny percentage of men. I think he just missed the room when the majority of men cannot get a date on a dating app. The majority of men cannot get a swipe on Tinder. And he's dropping podcasts such as, I don't know which one of my sister wives to sleep with tonight. I mean, my life is so hard. It just missed the room. And I don't want to be that person that says there are people dying in the world, but there is kind of that argument when you're like, there are people dying in the world and you're crying on a podcast over this, which is something that's your own making. You've chosen to do this. You've chosen to have another girlfriend. It's just the language as well. The language is half the reason I've stopped watching spiritual content. I realised that it was just word salad. Patrick uses the word spiritual brain rot, and it is. When people talk about their relationships in the guise of a container, opening the container, constellations, it is spiritual brain rot. It is people that are just too high on drugs. They're not seeing the wood for the trees. They're not seeing that relationships are just normal And the majority of people like me struggle to get in one. We struggle to find someone. But your situation is different. You have money, you have power, you have influence. It's going to be easy for you to find women because you have money, and life is hard for a lot of people. You are living in a situation that the majority of people will never see and will never experience. And I get that you're showing people that there's a different way, but really, it's a conversation that probably should have been kept behind closed doors and just talked about with your close friends and saying, hey, this is what we do. I don't think we needed a podcast on it. I don't think it really added to anything. I haven't seen one person make a response video supporting Aubrey. Everyone's literally just said, no, this is polyamory. This is bullshit. It's not radical monogamy. It's just Aubrey repeating patterns. It's just Aubrey getting bored of the situation that he's in. And dare I say, I don't want to be that Jordan Peterson person, but these people don't have children, and it shows. These people don't have children, so they're 40, they're getting high and they're going to a bog. That is not normal behaviour. That is not normal behaviour to be in your 40s going to a bog and getting high. That is behaviour you do when you're, well, I didn't do it, but when you're younger, when you can't get into a nightclub, when you're just a teenager maybe and bored going to the bog. These people are doing improv theatre because they're rich and they're fucking bored. They don't have the struggles that normal people have, like me, trying to find a home, trying to find somewhere to live. They don't have these problems. And I think the root of it is that deep down they feel guilt. Deep down they feel guilt because they have all this money and they see all this suffering in the world. And obviously they can't help everyone. That's the thing. When you get money, you can't possibly help everyone. So they must on some level feel a bit of a guilt that they have to tap out of. They have to tap out of this guilt using drugs, using sex, using hedonism. And really it's not true spirituality. I've been thinking to myself, really, what do I want my spirituality to be? And it doesn't involve drug use. It doesn't involve me pretending to be something I'm not. It doesn't involve me trying to be in the cool crowd, appearing on podcasts and using just stupid language such as the isness of what is. And that song, I've even commented on it, that song is just fucking hilarious. It just sums up the whole spiritual movement of pretending that they're spiritual people when really they're just entrepreneurs. They're people selling courses, people selling courses for $2,999 to help solve your inner child trauma, which cannot be solved going on a 2-day retreat somewhere. You're not going to suddenly see the light. It is just people being entrepreneurs. It's crazy. Just in general, I find the whole, for me, it's mainly the drug use issue, because I think if they want to be polyamorous, that's absolutely fine. People can do what they want to do, and as long as it's consensual, but it doesn't feel consensual. It feels like Vailana's just pushing her boundaries. It's Vailana pushing her boundaries of what she wants. It's Alana wanting more and not getting it from Aubrey. Because how can you go into something as a woman knowing that you're always going to be second best? The shit's going to hit the fan when Alana gets pregnant and Vi can't get pregnant. Because I think Vi said she's 38. So Vi's 38. Alana's a lot younger. The shit's going to hit the fan when Alana just clicks like that and Vailana's struggling. And how is she going to do that? Is she going to come up with some spiritual bullshit word like compersion and just be happy while Aubrey has a child with Alana and she's struggling? Because that's the elephant in the room. Obviously, it's one of the things as a female, you don't speculate on another woman's fertility issues. It's not really the done thing. But you can't really help it in terms of this video. They've been married a long time. There isn't a child. There's no reason for Vi to not have a child because she doesn't have a high-powered career. It's not as if Vailana is a speaker going around the world and she's going to give that up. Vylana doesn't really have a high-powered career. So for whatever reason, they haven't had a child. And they've made it into this biblical thing where Aubrey has to have sex with another woman and birth children with another woman because his wife is not having children for whatever reason. It was another reason why I just thought, why am I following these people? These people are not aligned with my goals. They're not aligned with my life issues. I want to, find someone, have children, still have a purpose and put good out into the world. These people, they just constantly want to get high, constantly want to have orgies, and it's not where my morals lie. I just felt it needed to be said that these people are sadly, they are druggy swingers. They are glamorizing drug use. They are glamorizing hedonistic behavior. And it's okay for them to do that because they have money. It's something I will never experience because I'll never have that much money to do it. Patrick calls it the buffer. Aubrey has a buffer where he can pretty much do whatever the fuck he wants because he has money. He has the buffer of money. He has the buffer where he can just pick whatever women he wants. He can go on Raya. That's a whole different shenanigans, that download from ISIS. We're not going to go there, but I just think too many drugs has addled Aubrey's brain. He's starting to not think logically anymore. And it's sad because I looked up to him as a role model. And I still think there's a chance for Aubrey to turn it around. And I'm generally not hating on Aubrey. I just feel that he has a chance to turn it around. He can put the drug use behind him. He can keep doing, his purpose-led mission, etc. But I just think he needs someone to just sit him down and say, look, you're in your 40s. Just stop with the drug use. Please stop glamorizing drug use and putting it on the internet. Because I know America has a fentanyl problem. We have spice here that's a problem. You're just glamorizing it. And I get there's a place for psychedelic therapy under controlled circumstances, but only if people have gone through really intense trauma. Not just spiritual tourism where you've gone through a breakup and then you need to take ketamine. No, you do not need to take ketamine if you've broken up with someone. This is just spiritual tourism, and it's just rich people trying to deal with their problems, but just seeing the buzzword of psychedelics as, yeah, this will help. If your leaders have gone through several psychedelic trips, if they've been on, 4, 5, 6, 10 psychedelic trips, it's not working for them. It's the same with people that do endless therapy sessions for the rest of their life. It's not working for them. And when I see people do constant psychedelic trips, I just think you're using that as a crutch. It's as if sometimes with spiritual people, they can't make a decision without consulting the medicine. They have to consult Aya, Mother Gaia, they have to consult everyone. Whereas they need to sit in stillness and silence and work out their problems, not just relying on drugs for everything. There are plenty of great spiritual people out there like Eckhart Tolle, and he's not dropping acid every 5 minutes. You need to think, this is just really for my subscribers, but you need to think really carefully about which spiritual leaders that you are following, and do your values align with those spiritual leaders? Because that's the decision I had to think of during my break. Do my decisions and morals align with these people? And they don't. I don't want to share a man. I think it is feminized behavior for a man to allow himself to be cucked like that. I don't necessarily see Aubrey as a masculine man. I think he appears as a masculine man because he has the ripped body and he has the tattoos and he has, the businesses, etc. But I think deep down, I see Aubrey as a feminized man. I feel he cries too much on podcasts. I've done that myself. I feel he cries too much. I don't feel like he governs his emotions. He definitely does not govern his sexual emotions. He acts like a teenager. And again, Aubrey's getting older, casting aspersions, but he must be taking blue pills as well. He can't keep saying that he has all these supplements and his testosterone's going through the roof. He's going to have to slow down at some point, and who knows. I would say, I think, having children would just calm him down, but I really don't think it's a good idea bringing children into this polyamory shit. I just think it's wrong for the child. And I think even on a logistic level, no one seemed to have brought this up in the takes that I've seen, but how do you generally know the paternity of a child if you are sleeping with multiple people, you have multiple boyfriends and girlfriends? How do you know that that child is your own? That's what I don't understand, and what I feel really uncomfortable with is these people are going to be growing up not knowing who their father is because these men can't control their sexual urges. And obviously I'm not a man, but half the point of being a man is that you control your sexual urges. That is the point of being a man. It's seeing that I'm a married individual. I have feelings outside my marriage, but I have made a commitment to this woman and I'm not acting on those sexual urges. And he just can't, for whatever reason, control. He doesn't have governance over his sexual urges, basically. And that's the main thing about being a man, is that you provide and protect and you govern your sexual urges. They're not going to go away. I've accepted whenever I marry, my husband will always have sexual urges for other people. That will always be there. But it's, can the man govern those sexual urges? Aubrey just can't. Each time he just opens a container, creates some bullshit, and then has one of his spiritual gurus just co-sign whatever he wants. So that's why I left the cult. And unfortunately, it's a shame because I really enjoyed his content. I really enjoyed him introducing me to new people, to different ideas. But at the moment, it's just way too much drug use. And even in his podcast, he'll go off into a tangent for 15 minutes and talk about a medicine ceremony. And I'm thinking, I want to hear about the guest. I want to hear the guest's opinion. I don't want to hear another anecdote about your medicine ceremony. If I want to look up about medicine ceremonies, I will type that into Google and I will see people's personal experiences about that. I don't need to hear your opinion on it every time I listen to a podcast. So that's why it's not for me. But with anything, it's helped me get to a certain point. And, maybe that's the gateway for me. Maybe that's the gateway for me. And for me personally, I don't want to commit myself, but I'm leaning more into Buddhism. That's more where I sit. And that's really helped me deal with things I'm going on at the moment, of life is suffering, etc. And that's kind of where I'm leaning. So if people just want to join me in my journey, but I just want to make it clear, when I'm talking about spirituality, it's not what you see. It's not the Austin spirituality. It's not the LA spirituality. It's not the drug taking. It's not the sex orgies. This channel will be primarily a different type of spirituality, more leaning on dealing with problems yourself, tapping into your inner self, etc. And just not all this polyamory bullshit. See you later.